Greetings to all in the love and light of the one infinite creator. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I am facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups on the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook page, and we do also meet twice a week on Zoom. Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, and Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific Time. You can contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com. To get on our mailing list, we send out weekly emails to let you know what we're doing that week, along with the Zoom links. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of our podcast episodes, as well as previous Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty, Austin Bridges, Gary Bean, and Trisha Bean from the L&L Research Channeling team. Again, you can contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list if you would like to join any of these Q&A sessions. Otherwise, today we are once again blessed to be joined by Mr. Jim McCarty for some informal conversation and questions and answers about the Law of One and how to live it in our daily lives. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing very well. It's a beautiful day in Kentucky, and I've re-begun my recording of the Law of One 102, the outer work.
Oh, nice. Nice. How's it going? What chapter did you record most recently?
Well, I have recorded through chapter 4, but it turns out that after chapter 1, I had my microphone turned around. The microphone I'm using right here. And because it was turned around, Austin said, well, your voice is okay. We could use it, but it's not the same as it was before chapter 1 or during chapter 1. So I'm re-recording chapter 2, 3, and 4. And then after that, Austin has 5, 6, and 7 ready for me to go.
Wow. Interesting.
But I enjoy recording, so I don't mind re-recording. I want it to be the best possible.
Yeah, of course. And I know there's so many people who enjoy the recordings and enjoy hearing your voice reading from our friends in the Confederation. I do see a number of questions in the chat window, so I'm going to go ahead and get to those as soon as possible. And I also want to encourage anyone who is joining us on the Zoom call. If you have a question, go ahead, put it in the chat window, and we will go in the order that they are there. Otherwise, I did want to note that we are recording this on November 2nd. It's a couple of days after Halloween and 5 days before November 7th, which this year marks the 40th anniversary of our good friend Don Elkins passing into larger life. So, Jim, I just wanted to ask, do you have any thoughts or reflections that you would like to share on this particular occasion?
I have always thought that Don's passing was something that was meant to happen, but I don't have anything to go on to prove that. He did say that to Carla after he had passed into larger life. She and I were in the office, what's now the office, and she saw him in a waking vision. And he said that what had happened was meant to happen, but that she would not understand that until she too had gone through death's door. And so since she has passed away 9.5 years ago, she understands, but I'm still wondering.
Indeed. I did also want to call attention to our viewers that Jim did actually share some thoughts more in depth on this subject back in 2018. I believe I'm doing a screen share. It's not that easy to find. I think you could Google it up, or if you go to the L&L research page, if you go to the news link at the top of the page and then find 2018, you'll find it was November 7th, 2018, where Jim shared some fairly in-depth reflections on the subject, which shall not bother going into today. But it's worth reading, and especially at this important time, since he was such a very special soul, and that we are glad to know that all is well with him and all will be well. But it's just nice to remember him on this day. So thank you.
You can also just Google the 34th anniversary of the passing of Don Elkins and come up with the same article.
There you go. Well, while we're on the subject about Carla, I did have a couple questions about Carla as well. She passed into larger life on April 1st, 2015, correct?
Right.
Which I think is, well, it's hilarious. It's a great example of cosmic humor that she would have passed on what we know as April Fool's Day. So I was just curious, did that day have any special meaning for either of you or both of you before that day?
Well, if you study the archetypes, you know that Fool was archetype 22. It had made the choice. It was walking into air with total faith that the ground would be firm under it, but you couldn't see that. So I think that Carla was always a being of faith. Her whole life long, she had faith. She was a disciple of Jesus Christ from the time she was 2 years old and had those experiences in her magic garden, which was also the first time she left her body. Uh, Went to the magic garden. She had about 50 of those experiences until she was 5 years old. And she told her mom and dad about them. And they said, "Oh, yes, it's just a sweet little girl's dreams. That couldn't happen to you." So she never had any more after that, but she was always a follower of Jesus Christ.
Nice. But you guys didn't like make a thing out of April Fool's Day. That was not a, you guys didn't do like pranks or anything like that, did you?
No, no, we didn't do anything for April Fool's Day.
Nice. May I ask, were you with Carla at the time she passed? And if so, do you remember her last words while in physical form?
I was with her. Um, she didn't have any words at that time. The night before she passed into larger life, I was holding her hand by her bed. She was in a hospital bed. She'd had a surgery wound on her lower back that did not heal. She was there for 4 years. And that's what actually the infection there is what killed her body. And I was holding her hand and I was talking to her and telling her how much fun I'd had being with her in my life, how inspiring it was, and all the great times we had together. And then she woke up. And so I told her again, and we had a great conversation back and forth about the time we'd spent together. And that is something that I will always remember. On the day that she passed away, it was 6:50 in the evening, Eastern Daylight Time. And what I noticed, it looked like she she was staring off into the distance, and I thought she wanted a glass of water. So I tried to hand her a glass of water, and she just took her hand and slowly moved it away. And then the last thing I remember was that she breathed her last. I mean, the breath went out, and I'm sure that that was her spirit leaving her body. And that's the way it went that particular day.
Wow. Sorry. Getting just a little bit choked up thinking about that. So beautiful. And I'm so thankful that you were able to have that conversation with her before that. What a
Oh
beautiful
yeah, I was
way
too.
to, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. And I know that Carla is with you and with many of us in spirit many times. And just want to say thank you to Carla. And
Yeah, I've heard from people all over the world where they had contact with Carla, and she gave them some sort of inspirational advice or supported what they were doing, and she was always service to others oriented.
so beautiful. Thank you. We could spend another couple hours talking about that, but we will save that for another time. In the meantime, we have quite a few folks on the call and quite a few questions in the chat window, so I do want to go ahead and start with those. I do see Edgar, Susan, and Christina first. So, Edgar, would you like to unmute your mic and ask?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for all your past, present, and future service and for being a beacon for all of us. Just have a question. The last Republican administration, unfortunately, caused the death of a lot of people for its inaction. And looking into the catalysts and all the energies that are mixed now, I'd just like to hear your opinion about this upcoming election and the exact, with a similar choice again that is putting in the people the exact same face, but they met before. Thank you.
Well, I think that politics is a pretty tough game to play, and it really doesn't matter which side you're on. Sometimes things just don't seem to go right, and in our current election, it seems that we have Republicans and Democrats that are on two different sides of a pole, and that there's been so much said about the mental instability of Donald Trump, but that doesn't seem to matter to people who support him. Um, Joseph Biden had some mental instabilities that he recognized, and he withdrew so that Kamala Harris could take his place. So, from my point of view, it seems like we have a choice here to be a greater service to others or a lesser service to others. And that's just about all I can say. I mean, it's a very strange situation. My neighbors are Donald Trump fans. They have a huge flag in their yard flying now. And I happened to be taking my speed walk 2 weeks ago when they were putting it up. So I stopped to talk to them, and we got into some discussion about, Chris, that's the woman, that she just didn't like Kamala. And then I said, well, aren't you all a little concerned about Donald Trump's mental capacities? And and that was Lee, her husband, said, well, Joe Biden had the same problem. I said, but he took himself out of the race. And so, we can talk. We've always known that we were on different sides of the aisle, you might say, for politics. So I think it's possible, for people to vote for one or the other and still be friends and still get along. So that's my hope, that whoever's elected, we can all still be friends. We can all work together one way or another for the benefit of all.
So, Edgar, did you have any follow-ups on that?
No, thank you. That was very beautiful. Thank you again for your service, Jim.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for the question.
In looking at the chat window, I saw that Curtis had a question that seemed maybe related to this particular topic. Curtis, did you still want to ask that question, or has Jim more or less answered your question?
I would like to ask it, please.
Yeah, go for it.
So my observation, Jim, is that what's going on is forcing choices on our part, either picking politics, religious choices. Food could be, I want to be a vegan, I want to be a carnivore, whatever. There's so many different choices. But from my understanding, we're supposed to love every choice. We're not really supposed to pick sides. We're supposed to love and understand that all choices are available because we're all one. And I wanted your opinion on my statement.
Absolutely correct. The creator is everywhere and in everyone, and is getting to know itself through whatever any person thinks, says, or does. And so the creator is getting to learn a lot about itself from the political race, the people that are in it, how it goes. There is no right or wrong. There is only the choice. And the choice that we're trying to make here in this group, I'm sure, is to be of service to others. And to be the truest service to others, we need to be able to see the creator in every other person. Even though it might be difficult to see, that is our ability if we exercise it and open our hearts in unconditional love. And whatever the choice of the electorate is, that's something that we accept too. We love everybody that's in this whole situation. They're all the creator. There's nothing but the creator.
Indeed.
Okay.
Did you have any follow-ups on that?
One quick
Oh, yeah.
thing. Wait, one quick thing, please. So I remember one of the things that Ross said we lack is faith. And I sit there and I have faith that everything is going to be okay. Has to happen. This is what the inconveniences that Ross spoke about. This little turmoil going on right now with everything, everything, financial, political, everything. This is the inconveniences that we are going to go through. And we should have faith that this is just a process.
Yes.
That was my little.
That's absolutely true. We have the veil of forgetting here that keeps us from seeing the perfection of the entire creation. And that what happens here is what we would probably hoped to happen, because the greater the challenge, the greater the opportunity to share the love of the Creator that comes through us for everyone else around us. And so when we leave our bodies and go through the veil of forgetting and look back and say, yep, that was a tough test, but by golly, we passed it. And it's the harder the test, the greater the learning. So I think that opening our hearts in unconditional love and seeing the perfection in every moment, faith is simply saying that all is well and all will be well. And that's the way it has to be, because everybody is the Creator.
Indeed. Well said. Yeah, and I appreciate what Curtis is pointing out in terms of this being like the end of third density. And it really does seem to, I would think anybody who's paying attention, really intense hyperpolarization, where people are being compelled to choose whatever they see as the best choice between service to self and service to others. And as I've said more than a few times, I can't imagine anybody who presents more outwardly as service to self than Donald Trump. But I mean, that's my view, and other people have different views, and I learned to stop worrying about what I don't have control over. So I really honestly don't care how anybody votes. As Jim said, I think it's really important to love everybody, regardless of how they vote or not, and to have faith, as he said, that all is well and all will be well, regardless of who the next president is. Anthony, was there something you wanted to add? Clarification, question?
Yeah, definitely. First, Jim, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you too as well. My kind of following up on what Curtis was just mentioning, and maybe taking it even a step further. In my opinion, and kind of looking at the raw material, and I mentioned in the chat that all these politics seem like planetary games. And I'm curious to kind of your thoughts of someone like myself who completely does not involve myself in politics, actually have a lot less stress. I don't even know what's going on in the election, yet my bills are still paid, my family's still okay, everyone eats. I'm just curious about that third option and your opinion about it, about just not involving yourself in that and just focusing all that time into spiritual growth and meditation. I'm curious to what your opinion is on that.
I think it's a great choice. I mean, you're not for or against anybody. You're just doing your spiritual path. And I think that's a beautiful choice.
That's good. Why don't we go ahead and move on to our next question? Thank you, everybody, for that. Susan, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes. Hi, Jim. I've been studying you guys for probably 2 decades now, so thank you for your service. I have more of a theoretical, getting away from our daily whatever. And I've always been curious, and I haven't puzzled it out, and wondered if you've got any thoughts on this. There seems to be an apparent paradox where Ra, where they're located in their journey, they seem to have a better viewpoint of everything, and that's why they can say all will be well and things like that. However, they express their naivety when they came here to help, and they seemed bewildered that that occurred. But if they're in sixth density and a lot of things have been seen and done and everything, how did they get so naive about this?
That's a good question. I believe what they were talking about was their involvement with the Egyptians when they actually walked on the planet.
Yes.
And were going there because it looked to them like the Egyptians, because they believed in what was called, or now, pantheism. They saw the Creator everywhere, that they would be able to relate to them in a simple and clear way. But that was apparently a naive proposition or thinking, because the Egyptians, those that they were communicating with, decided to keep the material, the information they got from Ra, for only the rich and the powerful. They didn't share it with everybody that Ra had hoped they would, because everybody is part of the law of one. The Creator is everywhere. So that was their naivete. And I guess you could say, well, couldn't you see into the future? And I think that at one point they said, well, the future was maize, not in relation specifically to the Egyptians, just in general. So they couldn't see into the future. They could only have this, what we call, or they called, a naive hope that their mission would be accepted and shared with everyone, but it wasn't the case. So that's why they were looking for an opportunity to make reparations or to balance the distortions that they felt responsible for in the law of one. So I think it was in 3,500 years ago, they communicated with Akhenaten, who was an Egyptian pharaoh and a wanderer. And Akhenaten's Menkar and Nefertiti were actually able to, where Akhenaten, I believe, was the channel those of Ra briefly, actually declared the law of one as the law of the land, which was only the case for as long as Akhenaten lived. And as soon as he passed into larger life, then the priests went back to what they were doing before. Oh, we got rid of him. Oh, good. Let's go back to power and things. So then they kept looking, and fortunately, they found Carla, who was able to channel them, and Don and I, who were honored to be part of that. And so that whole contact is an attempt to make the balancing the distortions that they felt responsible for with the Egyptians and their own naivete. So, they're the creator, we're the creator, and we all make mistakes, and we all learn from our mistakes, even being naive.
That's a great question, Susan. Any follow-ups on that?
One quick one I've been pondering. So the social memory complexes that are part of this situation that we're communicating with, are we destined to, once we become a social memory complex, will we also be part of that collective? See the future. Tell me what it is.
Well, I think the we that you're talking about could be divided into a couple of different kinds of we's. I think a lot of wanderers that are here now who've heard the call of sorrow, they are the brothers and sisters of sorrow, and the planet here has a lot of sorrow. So a lot of wanderers have come here to answer that call to be of service, so that when they leave their bodies and walk into the light, very likely they will go back to their home density, which could be the fourth density of love, the fifth density of wisdom, or where Ra is, the balance of love, wisdom in love and wisdom in the sixth density. Now, the other we, there are a lot of people here that have come from other planets and have had difficulty making the harvest there and come here to try again. And I think a lot of those are a part of those who are probably now awakened as spiritual beings. They know that they are more than just a mind, a body, and a spirit. They have connection to the Creator, and they're on a spiritual path, and they serve each other and others around them to more than 51% of the time. And then they can easily make the graduation into the fourth density that will be on this planet, according to Ra, the fourth density of love and understanding. Now that I think about it, there's also a third group. Those are entities that have made the graduation on another third density planet and who have come here early to help with the graduation here, because they see all of this strife and struggle and anger and separation as being a great way of being of service. So they have doubly activated bodies, and I think they will also become part of the fourth density here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Great questions, Christina. Thank you. Linda, did you have a follow-up question?
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Good. My question has to do with when they became incarnate during the time of the Egyptians, did they have the veil of forgetting?
They didn't incarnate. They simply went there as beings of sixth density. They attempted to reproduce the bodies they had when they were in the third density on Venus. So they were tall and golden in appearance, but they had all their memories. There was no veil of forgetting. They actually walked among the Egyptians and communicated with them face to face, you might say. So,
and learned that was a grievous mistake, I believe. Does that answer your question, Linda?
Yeah, thank you.
That's a great question. Thank you.
They didn't give birth or anything along those lines to children while they were here?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, cute dog you got there.
Yeah, thanks. He's a monster.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
what any of us would give to get in a time machine and go back and witness that little part of history would be something. Thank you for the questions. Christina, I believe you had a question next. And then after that, we have Kathleen and Eddie and Michael.
Ew, hello, Jim.
Hi, Christina. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I didn't know if you'd remember me or not, but
Of course, I remember you. You're sitting right over here on the couch, at the far end.
um, I have a question. I'm recognizing that I'm turning inward in this journey, and for so long I tried to control the external. So a lot of these questions are resonating in the sense of like, I'm not there. I'm in a different place of since my focus has come inward, I know that I'm a wanderer who came here to help because like the happiness and joy that I feel and the lightness that I feel is so weird. It's the dichotomy of like the pain and the suffering of confusion. And that's where I'm trying to reconcile is okay, how do I focus on brightening my light and embodying what I fully am capable of embodying in this density in this world? So Anthony had recommended The Magician. I guess it says the book where they talk about some of the magic that was used in the raw sessions. And there's a line in there that caught my attention about how magic can help heal the body. And I'm thinking it's because of the vital energy that we're connecting with. So my question for you, and especially your experience and what Carla went through, and you have any insights or other books or ideas in helping me kind of go down this path of looking at magic to help continue to expand to the best of my ability in this world, knowing that some of my catalysts may be pre-programmed and I'm not going to heal from them. So maybe I won't be able to fully walk again for the rest of my life. And maybe this is something that is forever. But I want to get
Do you want
more
to
in touch.
respond to that, Jim?
Yeah.
Well, I think that your enjoyment of the concept of magic is very interesting and inspiring. Basically, the magic of the white magician is the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. So I'm wondering if your will could be discovered more fully in your meditative states, or maybe in the dream state, or just using your intuition to see how you could move forward in any way that your will would provide. Will and faith, I think, are two of the concepts that are most important to those of Ra. So the faith that all is well and will be well would be a foundation upon which you could build the exercise of your will and use meditation or intuition or dreams to get more information about that. I think that if you ask in your dreams before you go to bed, ask your subconscious mind to give you information in a dream form that can help create a path for you, one step after another, and that you can then examine your dreams and see what kind of messages you're getting. Have you worked with dreams before?
I have. So I've been doing that. I've been doing maybe 2 years now. And it's I'm not sure if I'm just misinterpreting it or it's just the fact that the things that are coming through, I'm like, yeah, I know. It's just it's repetitions of like, yeah, I know. There's
Well, I
nothing.
think also that your guides can communicate with you in dreams or intuitions, or bringing books, synchronistically to you. That, like you mentioned, the book on the white magic. So I just, I would suggest using your will and exercising faith and looking for coincidences and synchronicities. Work with whatever you got with dreams, intuition, and just to have the faith that it will be well, it is well, and that this all has happened for a purpose. Nothing happens by accident. So just have that faith that that is the case, and just take one little step at a
So
time.
I'm curious because I love that you say that, like the synchronicities and things like that. I am noticing them. What do you suggest that I do? I think what I do is, I mean, I had a moment yesterday where there's like 3 of them right in a row. It was like numbers popping up all over. Like it was just so much. I'm like, okay, this is clearly a message. So I kind of sit with it and embrace it and allow it to grow. Is there anything else I can do to kind of help that amplify things?
I think you're traveling the right path. I think you're doing it just fine. Keep on
Okay.
doing it. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Keep doing it. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think that's what I need to
Thank you for your question. Good to see you again.
Great questions, Christina. And if I remember correctly, our Quo said more than a couple times that seeing repeating numbers or synchronistic numbers is often a affirmation of whatever you were thinking at that time, and then encourage you to think about whatever you were thinking at the moment you saw that
Right.
numbers. That's a good thing.
Okay.
And I believe Anthony put a good book reference for you, recommendation in the chat window if you want to check that out too. Kathleen, you had a question, and then we have Eddie and Michael and Adam after that. And I think we still have time for more questions. If there's anyone on the Zoom call who still has a question they haven't asked, go ahead, put it in the chat window. Kathleen, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Great to see you again. My question has to do with whether those of Quo or Ra elaborated, other than what I see in the material, about the tree of mind and the roots of the tree of mind. So I'm trying to understand how I tap into that objectively to expand my ability to tap into intelligent infinity and intelligent energy. And I know that, you know, it's a process, and that we study our own thoughts, actions and vibrations and what have you. But in terms of the tree of mind itself, how do we, like, is it just a matter of like meditating on that and asking our higher guidance to give us clues and things like that? Or I'm wondering, because I haven't read all of the Quo material. I have read all the raw material. I'm on like my 5th reading of it, and I'm just so gobsmacked at times as to how how we as individual elements of the one infinite creator tap into that to fully grasp. And I know this is not the density of understanding, but to be able to work with that tree of mind in a palpable fashion that you know leads us to progress and momentum in our spiritual journeys in service to others.
I think that your concept of using meditation to be able to get more in tune and in touch with the deeper elements of the mind is a good thing to do, because the tree of mind basically says that we all are part of, we have our subconscious mind. Then if you go deeper, we have the planetary or racial mind. Then beyond that is the archetypical mind, and then the cosmic mind of the creator. But we don't have to go through all those stages. As Carla used to say, when we meditate, the creator speaks to us in thoughts too deep for words. So I think that a meditation that is undertaken with the intention of making contact with the creator and receiving any kind of inspiration, whether it's in the form of an image or a thought or just a feeling of intuition, is what is probably the best way to go, because not only is the creator with us at all times, the creator can give us direction. And it might not happen right in the meditation. It might be later, but again, synchronicities or coincidences can show up. I think that the important thing is what you do with an intention. You set your intention to meditate and to receive information about your path that you can use in service to others, discovering more about yourself and how you can serve more, and in different ways. And so that would be my suggestion.
Thank you very much. I just have like a little trouble grasping the idea of the roots of the tree of mind, because that's like the deepest elements of it that I seem to, it seems to escape me as far as how I engage that. That's, I guess, my
But
real issue.
I might be incorrect here. My opinion is the roots refer to the deepest mind, the mind of the creator.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Great question, Kathleen. Yeah, I don't hear much about it, don't get asked much about it, so appreciate your bringing that up. Eddie, did you have a question you wanted to ask? And
Yes.
then we've got Michael and Adam after that.
Thank you, Jonathan, and hi, Jim. Good to see you today. I'm not on camera, but I'm in a yellow shirt as well, so seeing some curiosity here. My question is, and this is, I want to predicate it with saying that this is an observation and my own experience. So I, in no means generalizing this, but I've noticed that, and I've heard, listened to the text multiple times, right? I do listen to the audio. And I noticed that when you get to the tarot, there is like some form of a transition in terms of understanding and the depth of the knowledge that's being shared. With that being said, and given that there has been a long time since then for you, Jim, right? You've experienced it firsthand. So how did that evolve for you from your own experience in terms of understanding the symbolism and the archetypes and all that stuff? And also, I want to share that I don't understand tarot. So my intent is to have the cards in front of me next time I listen to it so that I can correlate and better understand what's happening.
I believe Ra was very excited about our investigation of the tarot because they could frequently use the word "oh student," and like they were really happy that we finally gotten into this area of investigation. Because taken basically, the tarot is the study of the nature of our evolution throughout the third density illusion. And the mind, the body, and the spirit are all parts of that. And if we can utilize our minds in a conscious fashion, the magician and the subconscious of the high priestess, the feminine part of our mind, we can go about our spiritual journeys in the third density much more effectively because the choices we've made previous to the incarnation have a bias given to them by our subconscious mind, by the high priestess, so that when we see a situation, we see it from the aspect of that pre-incarnated choice. Another person might see the situation totally differently. So Ross suggested that each entity is unique in their interpretation of the tarot within certain guidelines. So I think that the tarot, we were only able to get specific or detailed information about the mind. In the body and the spirit, we were only able to get general information. So this is where I guess it would come in very handy for an individual that was seeking along the lines of what the tarot means to them to be able to interpret the general information in a specific way that it would be unique to them. So I think that everything about the tarot gives us a way of moving forward on our spiritual journey that can be accelerated by our interpretations of Ra's general principles that they shared with each of the portions of the images.
Any follow-up questions on that, Eddie?
Yeah, somewhat related, and that sparks a lot of questions, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. The one question that comes to mind, since, as you explained, it seems there has been, from that standpoint, a focus on the mind. And I've heard and read somewhere that the mind is not localized, unlike what a lot of people, or even researchers and philosophers and psychologists think. The mind expands beyond our brain, if I may say. And I wanted to hear your perspective on that.
Our mind, I believe, is a way that the general consciousness of the creator is funneled through us in a unique way. Our mind can serve us well by giving us the ability to make choices and to utilize the love and the light of the creator and eventually becoming aware spiritually that this is our purpose, to be of service to others. But the mind by itself needs some help from that consciousness of the creator to make a trip that Carla always called from the mind to the heart, the love of the creator. So I think that is where our greater choices are made. There is a kind of wisdom of the mind that comes from the heart supporting it, infusing it with that concept that we are all the creator, and that the love of the creator can flow through us, not necessarily from us, so that we may be of more service to those around us.
Did that answer your question, Eddie? Did you have any follow-ups on
Yeah,
that?
this is helpful. I do have another somewhat unrelated question. Maybe if we have time in the end, I could ask it.
Sure. I think we're doing pretty good on time. I only see Michael and Adam after this, and I'll bet we would have time to come back for another question. Is that okay with you? Sound good?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for asking about the archetypical mind, one of my favorite topics. Quo has spoken at length about the archetypical mind, including archetypes beyond the archetype of just the mind. If you go to the L&L research page and click on the little magnifying glass in the upper right, that's the search engine. You could type in matrix of the spirit or, whatever, and find what's been said about that if interested. Plus, we had a podcast episode on it not too long ago. You can find that on our YouTube channel. We looked at several passages from Ra and Quo on it. Michael, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Hi, Jim. Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I had a question about Ra. In session 80, he was speaking of the matrix of the spirit being like that of the night, and the moonlight that can neither reveal truth or
so that was
falsity.
3 hours.
Oops.
I was wondering, was Ra referencing the veil as the moonlight, or did he was he using a reference for the moonlight as the veil, in your opinion?
I believe that's correct, that in this third density illusion, we are in a darkness, not seeing the nature of reality, that the creator is everywhere and that we are the creator and everyone around us is a creator. So I think that groping in the moonlight is basically what each of us is doing, especially if we have become awakened to our spiritual journey, that for a while we have to take things on faith that this is what we're here to do, because we can't see clearly. That veil of forgetting makes it difficult to look at things in the correct light. And because we don't have that light here, then we have to move forward with faith. Once again, faith that all is well. We're here for a reason. And whatever happens to us is happening to us because it is a way that we can learn, even if it's a painful experience. Changing and growing is often a painful experience because we have to redefine ourselves and look at ourselves and the world around us in a slightly different way. And sometimes that's not comfortable at all. But it offers us a chance to grow. So I think that moonlight is basically another allegory or allusion to the veil of forgetting.
Thank you a lot, Jim.
Thank you for your question.
Great question. Certainly goes in well with the one before it. Thank you, Michael. Adam, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Are you there, Adam? Did you have a question?
Can you guys hear me?
Very
Yep.
low.
Sounds good.
Great. Thank you, Jim, for being here. And I was curious, partway through session 91, Ra had you guys redo the Circle of One ritual and said it was humorous. I don't know if you could share about that experience that you remember, if it was humorous to you guys as well. And then on top of that, I was just wondering if you could just share a little bit about the Circle of One and maybe what the purpose is. Do you use it before channeling Quo? Are there any other purposes for the Circle of One ritual? Thank you, Jim.
Well, the humorous part was that as we were rewalking the Circle of One, because there was a little problem in the contact, I tripped and I had to regain my footing. And for some reason, they thought that was pretty funny. And I imagine it did look funny from their point of view. As for the circle of one, no, we have never used that anywhere other than during the raw contact. And Don and I would walk around the bed that Carla was lying upon as she was beginning to go into trance. And we would recite, what is the law of one? The all of one. Why are we here? We seek the law of one, and so forth. So I don't think that would have any use to current days. What I do here in my living room, where we have our public channel meditations, is every morning after I've had my first meditation, I perform the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram. And that's what we also performed in the living room during the raw contact before we went into the raw room to have the sessions. And we discovered that that was a way that we could protect Carla from having any further contact with our negative friend of fifth density, because I think it was Ross session number 72, where we had to try 2 or 3 times to have the session because our negative friend was able to put her into a sleep state. And we didn't know if she was asleep or in trance, so we decided not to have a session. So Don then came up with using the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram to protect the living room from our negative friend. So after that, we discovered that that was what was happening, that we couldn't tell if Carla was in trance or asleep or what it was. So that's why I perform the banishing ritual here every morning to provide that protection for this place where we have our public channeling meditations.
It's a great question. Any follow-ups on that, Adam? For anyone who's interested in learning more about the banishing ritual, if you go to the LNL website and then click on channelings and then select the raw contact from the drop-down menu, if you scroll down, you'll find there is actually a link to protection rituals, which include the directions for how to do that, as well as the garlic ritual and the salt cleansing ritual, all of which can be used really nicely to purify a space if you have concerns about negative entities or energies. I'm thinking that was the last question in the chat window. Anyone on the call, did I miss? Did anybody had a question they wanted to ask before we wrap things up? Well, I want to thank everyone for your wonderful questions, as always. Somebody have a question?
Yes, I want to go back and if I
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, Eddie. I totally forgot. Yes, please do.
yeah, so I feel like pleased and lucky to be here in the presence of Jim and to get to ask him questions directly. As a matter of fact, my wife and I were talking about this, and we always do. Like for him to be here and for us at the same time to have this opportunity means a lot. So thank you again, Jim. My question is more, remind me about the concept that Carla talks about in one of her books, that treat this density, this experience as a game, which means that there are different versions or variations to this game. Like if you, I'm not a gamer, but I know of games, right? So usually there is a release and then a second, and they add new features, right? So if we use that analogy, then how do you see the next version after this? I'm not talking about moving to fourth density, right? There are a lot of entities who will go back to the third density experience. So how do you envision that? So if I may elaborate a little bit, the previous from the raw content, the way I understand it is the former version before this we're in now, the veil of forgetfulness was lifted, right? So, and then this new iteration, and it's part of the creator learning about himself, we're in this version. So then how do you see, if there is a new version, a new release of this game, how will it look like?
Well, in the beginning, in the third density, there was no veil of forgetting. And everyone saw that they were the creator, and no one was more the creator than anyone else. So there was no reason to move forward in their choices from responding to fear or love. So they had to repeat constantly the third density. So the Logoi decided that perhaps if they put the veil of forgetting between the conscious and subconscious minds, that would help the process paradoxically by keeping the people that in the third density from seeing that all was one. They would think that all was not one, that all were separate. But somewhere deep within the heart of their being, that knowledge within their subconscious mind was there, that there was more to the life than that. So I believe when Carla was talking about the enhanced game board in her Living Law of One 101, The Choice, she was talking about that experience that could happen if you became an awakened spiritual seeker of truth. On the flat game board of life, that is where the veil prevails, so I say. And you don't see that. You're not an awakened spiritual seeker. You're still lost in the concept of separation and not knowing exactly why you're here on the planet. So, did that answer your question?
Somewhat. So,
Okay, try again.
and this is the analytical mind in me, right? When we say then the enhanced game board is you're not gonna have the veil. The veil is lifted, which means we're going back to the previous version, right? Did I misinterpret this?
I'm not sure if that's what she meant by enhanced game board. Jim, maybe you can speak to this, but my impression was that like the normal game board is the normal illusion of third density life.
Yeah.
Enhanced game board is now the game that you're aware of the law of.
Right.
Doesn't mean the veil is removed. You're just
right. The veil is still there, but you are a spiritual seeker that is awake, and you know the veil exists, and that you're here to seek the Creator, and you have to use your faith and will that that is true. The flat game board is the person who is not awake yet, and it's the workaday world. It's most of the people you see around you every day.
Does that make sense, Eddie?
Yes.
Does that answer your
Yes.
question?
Thank you. Absolutely, yes.
What a great question. Yeah. Well, first thought that came to my mind is your next incarnation is probably the next version of the game board based on whatever you learned this time around. Ashley, I saw your hand up a little while ago. Did you have a clarification question or a new question? Go for it.
Oh no, it was a new question. If anyone
for it.
wants to do follow-ups, so.
I think we're good. Why don't we go ahead and make your question the last question?
Okay. Hi, Jim. Thank you for being with us again. Thank you for all your wisdom and service. I guess this is more of a personal question for you as a wanderer. With all you've experienced, which is like amazing things and all that you learn and continue to learn, do you still find yourself curious? Like, are there still things that like really not you and you've got to research it? And like, do you still have your sense of curiosity and wonder about learning things?
Oh, I sure do. Not so much in the spiritual level. I mean, I think I have my spiritual path pretty much the way I like to live it every day. I'm kind of like my cat. I'm ritualistic, and I do the same things basically every day. But it's in the mechanical world, how things work, weird things like my fish pond, for example. On a couple of occasions, the water from the fountain began shooting out of the fish pond, and I couldn't figure, and then that would begin draining it if I hadn't caught it in time. And I couldn't figure out how it started doing that. So I put the fountain down below the water line a little more so that it had to go through more water. It wouldn't be as tall. And then same thing happened. I couldn't see any water on around the fish pond, but it was down about 300 gallons, which is a quarter of, about 6 inches of water that was gone, but it was nowhere in sight. And I still don't know what happened.
Oh, that's crazy.
Anyone who reads the Camelot Journal knows that this has been a bit of a puzzle going for a while.
Yeah, I've just now let the water run at night so that, it had to be a week of no problems before I did that. Most of the time I'd be turning the fountain off so there wasn't running. And then during the daytime, I could look and see how it was happening. But now it's working okay, knock on wood.
What a great question, Ashley. Did you have any follow-ups on that?
No, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Love that question. Thank you, Jim.
Can I,
Well, I hope you are still slightly curious about pop culture because we do, of course, as the ritual for these little Q&As, have a pop quiz for you today. So you obviously know a little bit about Intelligent Infinity, but how much do you know about Dum Dums, the little candy lollipops used to get children addicted to sugar as early as possible in the United States? Did you ever eat these? Have you seen any of these like in the last
I've heard
30
of
years or
lollipops,
so?
but not Dum Dums. That sounds like a name you wouldn't want to buy.
I think they were popular as a Halloween treat when I was a kid going trick-or-treating in the later part of the previous century, I believe. And they're still around. So we're going to ask you 3 multiple choice questions about Dum Dums. See how many you can answer correctly. Those of you on the Zoom call, you can put your answers in the chat window if you want. Those of you watching on video, if you're still watching at this point, you can shout your answers at the TV and we will hear you through there. Your first question, as you may or may not know, along with classic flavors like cherry and cotton candy, Dum Dums are famous for having mystery flavor pops. So your question is, what is the mystery flavor? Is it A, a mix of mango and dragon fruit? B, a mix of every flavor they've got? Or C, a mix of 2 random flavors?
I'll go with A.
A would be nice. They do actually have mango and dragon fruit flavors, but that is not it. As it turns out, the correct answer is C. The mystery flavor is a mixture of whatever batch they just finished and whatever batch they are starting next. Means it's basically their way of not having to clean out the machines. They just mix the 2 flavors together, wrap them up as mystery flavor, and sell it, which is just American capitalism at its best. Are you ready for your second question?
Oh, yeah.
In 1997, Dr. Irving, MD, became the Goodwill Ambassador for Dum Dums, sharing them with hospital and nursing home residents. But what else was Dr. Irving? Was he A, a Presbyterian minister, B, a soap opera actor, or C, a capuchin monkey?
A Presbyterian minister.
That would be nice. I believe Mr. Rogers was also a Presbyterian minister.
Oh, was he really?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, he was a great soul.
Oh, he was. He was.
I mean, I don't think we knew that while we were seeing him on TV.
No, and I don't think he ever spoke about his Christian faith on TV or anything like that. But boy, did he live it in a beautiful way. Dr. Irving was indeed a capuchin monkey.
What?
In 1997, he was the Goodwill Ambassador for the Dum Dums brand, enjoying and sharing the pops with hospital and nursing home residents. He even made an appearance eating Dum Dums on the Nashville Network's
Dr. Irving, okay. Dr. Monkey.
Yeah, he may or may not graduate to 3rd density in the next incarnation.
Oh, no,
If he
that's
does,
accurate.
hopefully he'll be a dentist in his first human incarnation. Last question. Dum Dums have been owned by the Spangler Company since 1953, and in 2022, one family member branched out and started a company that makes candy out of what? Is it A, meat,
Yeah.
B, insects, or C, compost?
Oh, none of the above.
None of the above. You've played this game before, haven't you?
I wouldn't even estimate out any of those.
No, interestingly enough, the correct answer is C, compost. They are
Compost?
called, yeah, they're called climate candy faves. And in case you didn't know this, 25% of perfectly imperfect produce goes unharvested. Means it doesn't go to the supermarkets because it's wrong size, shape, has blemishes or whatever. So it ends up going to the waste, and unharvested produce actually wastes a lot of vital energy and does in fact contribute to climate change significantly. So they have turned all of that produce that would have got thrown out into choose. So they
Okay.
include apple juice, apple puree, pumpkin puree, carrot puree, cherry puree, and all sorts of other stuff. And
Okay.
since this is only 2 days after Halloween, we can only assume they'll have a lot of pumpkin puree to be using after this.
I had too narrow of a definition of compost. My compost pile is made only of tree leaves that I've used my mower on to reduce it to leaf dust. And then I put it in my flower garden so they hold more water. The soil holds more water. So that was what I was thinking. I don't want to think it made out of leaf dust.
No. As usual, it was a trick question. It was designed to be confusing. This is the density of
this week I was 0 for 3. Last week or last month I was 3 for 3.
You were 3 for 3 last month. You crushed it last time. Yes. I stopped keeping track of your batting averages, but we can only assume you're doing excellent. And if you had fun, you won. So thank you, as always, for being here, Jim. Thank you for taking time to be here. Did you have any last thoughts, reflections wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for your great questions. I'm always amazed at the quality of questions that I get here. And a lot of them are something that, it's fun. It's fun to be together, fun to share with each other what's important in our lives, and fun to know that we all share a similar journey, moving back into unity with the one infant creator. And we can help each other on that journey by having a good time, asking great questions. Maybe we don't know the answers, but we keep asking the questions and moving forward together as a group. So I appreciate everybody's questions, everybody's heart full of love flowing out. I can feel it. And I hope you all have a great day, and hope to see you again.
Indeed. Love you, my friend, as well as our good friend Don Elkins and Carla Ruckert. Still love you. Thank you for everything you've done and continue to do in service to others, Jim. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. For everyone who joined us on the Zoom call today and brought your loving vibrations and your beautiful questions, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To everyone who's watching on this video at some time in the near or distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. Love you much. And until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai. Namaste.
Love you all.
Love you all. Bye.
Much